All right, we can get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. Catalog Builder, how to democratize your catalog maintenance with Catalog Builder. Firstly, the safe harbor notice. Some of the statements that I may say may be forward-looking. While in the demo, I've ensured that whatever you see is already out there in Utah. But any forward-looking statements may be made with respect to Vancouver and going forward. You can use the QR code for the schedules of our upcoming webinars and meetups. Some housekeeping rules. We save some time at the end for Q&A. Please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen along the way. Instead of using the chat for asking a question, that will help streamline the question and answers. The presentation will be recorded and it will be shared on the ServiceNow community. And after the event, you will be prompted to fill out a survey. Please do share your feedback with us and to share what you think about the session. And also if you would like to be contacted for any research and validation purposes in future. Some introductions before we get started. I'm Karthik Aisola. I'm a senior product manager at ITSM in ServiceNow. I specifically look after Service Catalog Builder, and Request Management. And with me, I have Anurag Vesangi, who is a lead software engineer at ServiceNow. He looks after Service Catalog and Catalog Builder. So he'll be my shadow. He'll be answering the questions in the chat and also correcting me wherever I go wrong in this webinar. Hopefully he doesn't have to do that. So what's the need for democratization? The creation and maintenance of catalog items today is mostly centralized, right? Because it requires platform knowledge and sometimes technical knowledge. It lacks a guided experience. You cannot visualize the item when it is being built, and there are no guardrails to enforce organization's catalog standards. So those make it difficult for you to democratize your catalog creation and maintenance. And why is that a problem? Because that proves to be a bottleneck. It slows down your digital transformation initiatives. It leads to shadow systems and processes, and also leads to high cost of scaling up centrally. A lot of you would already be facing with issues of getting requests from all over your organization, where you do not have your resources are already stretched. You don't have enough bandwidth to take care of all the requests, and generally that means that the time to deliver a catalog item gets increased. So what are the problems that each different personas have, and how does Catalog Builder solve them? Typically in an organization, you have the requester who wants a service or a product, who's searching for it, and he or she does not find it, and he reaches out to the concerned business owner or service owner. For example, let's say someone wants a monitor, right? So, and they don't have a catalog item for it. They would either create a ticket, a general ticket, which then goes in the black hole of all the tickets and it sometimes gets lost, or they would then reach out to the service owner saying, "Hey, I need a catalog item which can serve my need." The service owner, because they lack the ServiceNow knowledge and technical expertise, they reach out to the catalog admin or the ServiceNow developer to create a catalog item. And imagine there are many such service owners who are reaching out to the developers, and they're now bombarded with requests. But once the request is made, there is back and forth between the service owner and the developer. There are requirements gathering. There is back and forth about how the item should look like, what should be the fulfillment process. And it may take anywhere between weeks to months to actually flesh out a full-fledged functional catalog item. So Catalog Builder is aimed at solving this problem, where your developer, your ServiceNow developer and admin teams are stretched thin because of a lot of requests coming in from all over your organization. We would want the service owner themselves to go ahead and create catalog items, or at least a major part of the catalog items. at least 70 or 80% of a catalog item is simple, is about giving the description, about asking simple questions and defining some fulfillment steps. And the rest 20% could be implementing a complex logic where client scripts and so on, which can be then done by the service developer. So we want to empower the service owners to go ahead and create the catalog items themselves, or at least to start doing that, and use Catalog Builder for requirements gathering and also building catalog items. So what is Catalog Builder? In a nutshell, it is an easy to use, WYSIWYG, guided and guardrail experience for creating and maintaining catalog items. If you've not seen Catalog Builder so far, worry not, I'll go through a demo and explain all the features of Catalog Builder. I'll take an example and go through the workings of Catalog Builder. So with that, I'll go ahead with the demo. All right, so what you see here is the Catalog Builder dashboard. So when you go to the platform and say Catalog Builder and click the Catalog Builder in the navigation, you would end up here. And here I've logged in as Eileen. Eileen is a Catalog Builder editor and not a catalog admin, and hence I only have the privilege to create a catalog item and not a catalog item template. Catalog item template is a way to set guardrails and to initialize a catalog item. When you're creating a catalog item or a record producer from Catalog Builder, you definitely need to have a template. So traditionally, generally how it happens is the catalog admins and ServiceNow developers create the templates. They would provide initial information and the guardrails for that template, and then they would then ask the service owners to use that template to create the catalog items. The service owners then uses that template, creates the catalog items, and then the developers can review it and make changes on it if they want to, and then publish it. So that's the whole process of creating a catalog item. And if you notice that in the catalog items tab, you would see all the catalog items listed, and there is only one catalog item listed here, even though there are multiple catalog items in the system. That's because I've changed the setting where property to only show the ones where I am the owner. So Aline is the owner of only this item at the moment, and hence you are seeing that. So in order to reduce the clutter that you see, out of the box, you would see all the items for which the user had read access to. So there's a lot of clutter. If you don't want that, you can use the property to change it. You'll find the name of the property in the documentation. All right, let's go ahead and create a catalog item. And my requirement today is to create a catalog item for ordering a monitor for remote employees. Now, with after COVID, a lot of companies have gone remote. And a lot of employees would need monitors at their home for work. So if they want to order a monitor, a request for a monitor, we would want to create a catalog item for that. I have some requirements there, name, description, questions, and fulfillment. So I'll use these information to create the catalog items. So once you click create a catalog item, you would see the process of creating a catalog item, and then it opens the wizard. The wizard is a step-by-step guardrailed experience, and before that, you have to choose the template that you would want to apply. And my catalog admin, Beth Anglin in this case, has asked me to use the IT hardware template for creating this catalog item. So I'll choose that and say use this template. All right. So now it asks me various questions. So what is the basic details, location, questions, and so on in a step-by-step format. And on the right, you have something called feedback panel, which gives some additional information about what somebody needs to fill in each of these. The good thing about it is this feedback panel is editable. So if in your organization you have certain standards, or if you want to give them additional information, you can do so. It's a HTML field where you can add images and text to this part. You can edit the feedback panel on every step, which can change. So for every step, you can give your own information if you think whatever is out of the box is not sufficient. So for this, I will give this information. Standard monitor for remote employees. Short description is monitor requests are intended for employees who have never requested for one. Very important. You wouldn't want people to keep requesting it. Let me attach an image. So I already have a monitor image, which I'll be using to upload. And I have the description. Let me save that. Keep formatting. We have description here. And I also have something called tries here. Now, if you notice, if you've already seen Catalog Builder, or even if you have not, tries, this field does not come out of the box. Because in out of the box Catalog Builder, you only have these 4 in details step: the name, short description, image, and description. Tries is something that I have added. So from the Tokyo release onwards, we have enabled editing of Catalog Builder itself to add your own questions or entire sections or even steps. So if you have a requirement to add additional custom questions while creating or editing a catalog item, you can do so. So here I have added tries, but for this I'll just say 0. I don't have price associated with this. I'll continue to location, and for location, you see that both category and catalogs are locked. That's because this has been defined in the template. So this is where the guardrails kick in. So the template defined that all the items that get created using this template will automatically go in service catalog and in the hardware and peripherals categories. So the person who's creating catalog item cannot change it. They will be logged. So that is one form of guardrails that you can enforce via the template. So moving on, so let's add some questions. I have some questions defined here. One, the first is requested for. So it would be a reference. Ideally, you would use a requested for variable from a variable set, but for this demo purposes, I'm using a reference to sysuser field. Oops. Yep. Okay. I'll leave the mandatory hidden read-only right now. We'll use the UI policies for that. In the additional details, so give the name of the table which would contain this information, and you are done. So once you give information, you can insert the question, and the question gets inserted. Next, I would want to ask what type monitor do you want? We want to have a drop down with fixed values. So I'll say choice, drop down with fixed values. Let's say monitor type. And if you go to the choices tab, here I can add choices. I have 22 inches and 27 inches as the option. 22 inches, 27 inches. Yep. If you want, you can also add annotation. Annotation is, let's say, it will show you a help text beside it. Say 27 inches monitor would require new head approval. Right. So this would be shown as a help text on this particular question. So once you've done that, insert this question. Do you have one more? Yes, I have one more. I would want to know the postal code of for where to deliver this. So let's have let's keep this as a text box, right? Postal code. Let me mark this as mandatory. In additional details, because postal code is a specific type, and let's say I'm creating for US, so there should be, I'll add text validation saying US zip code and insert this question. Now, postal code is information that already exists in the in user table. So this user table already contains the user and the corresponding address and postal code. So I don't need the users to actually insert that value unless they have not provided it or if they want to change it. So by default, the postal code should automatically come whenever the requested for changes or requested for is selected. Now, typically you would either write a data lookup or you would write a client script to do that. But from Utah onwards, there's a new feature called auto-populate, which will do that for you automatically. So what you do is you go to you edit the question of postal code or whichever you want to be auto-populated. You go to the auto-populate tab and you have to select which question does this depend on. So in our case, it depends on the requested for. So whenever the requested for changes, you want the postal code to be set. So I'll go here and I'll say zip code, and that's it. So once you save this, you are done. So whenever the requested for changes, the zip code is automatically picked up and it is set. You can go to any length. You can, let's say, if you want a manager's phone number, let's say. So from here you can say manager and their business phone, or you can say managers, their cost centers, and so on. So you can go to any length. You can dot walk to anywhere which actually contains the information, and that will automatically set the value whenever somebody's trying to request for that particular category item. So here I just need the zip postal code for that user. So I'll add this and save it. Okay, and the other one is default value. Let's say for monitor type, I would want a particular option to be the default value. So what I would do is I'll go to default value tab, and this would actually show me the type of the question here, and I can set a default value. So I need to choose 22 inches or 27 inches. So I'll choose 22 inches as a default value, or in fact I'll say 27. So it is not the first one, and I'll save. So I've set the default value. I've set the auto-populate for this, and the two things I need to set are mandatory for requested for and monitor type. So I'll use the UI policies or dynamic behavior to do that. How you can add dynamic behavior to a question is this. You can click this. This is called dynamic behavior, and define a new behavior. So when you click that, the dynamic behavior modal opens, where you can set something as mandatory. You can make a question visible or invisible, or you can make a question read-only or editable based on certain conditions. So let's say I want to set it mandatory. I can do that. If you want, you can give a condition. If you don't give a condition, it will be set on page load automatically without any condition. But if you, for example, if you want to make certain field read only based on the answer for some other question, for example, if you want to make this mandatory only when, let's say, monitor type is so and so, you can define that. But in our case, I don't need it, so I'll not define it. I'll go ahead and add this behavior. Similarly, for monitor type, I would want this to be mandatory as well. So I'll say yes, and I'll add this behavior. Now you have your catalog item, at least the form ready. And while you're doing it, if you want to actually preview how this would look in the portal or for the requester, how this would look, you can actually go ahead and click the preview button. And what the preview does is show you a preview of how the item would look. You can actually click the open a new tab link. It'll open it in a new tab. You can actually put this on another monitor, and as you go on editing the catalog item, as you keep adding the questions to this would refresh real time and actually show you how it would look in real time. So this is the image that we put, the description. It looks good. We have the 3 mandatory fields. Let me request for able tutor. So, and you see the default one is automatically selected, and the autopopulate is working. The postal code was selected for able tutor whenever I selected. So if you remove it, the postal code would go. If you select it again, it would come back. So that's how the autopopulate feature works. And the beauty of preview is that you can not only preview how the item looks in portal, but you can also see how the item looks in Now Mobile, and you can also see how the item would look in virtual agent. So this is our push towards omnichannel experiences. We would want you to always think about omnichannel experiences whenever you create a catalog item. You don't need to create a separate item for your mobile service portal, or you don't need to create a separate topic for the catalog item to come up in virtual agent. So once you create a catalog item, if it follows a certain rules when it comes to virtual agent, it would automatically be rendered conversation. So you can see how it renders in a mobile, and similarly how it renders in a virtual agent. Okay, going forward in the settings. So the whole settings is locked by the admin. So the admin has defined that in the template. So the settings is locked, right? And the access is also locked. It is for any user and it has been locked. And let's come to fulfillment. Now, fulfillment, the engine and flow has been selected, already selected in the template, and it's been locked. The admin wants us to use the service-based request fulfillment. The feature is called service fulfillment steps, where you can actually define the steps that are part of your fulfillment. For example, if your fulfillment is very simple, let's say it contains 1 or 2 approvals or 1 or 2 tasks, then all you need to do is come here and add those steps. You don't need to create a flow or workflow for it, which anyway the service owners are not used to doing. So the service owners can actually go ahead and create the steps required here, and they don't need to do anything else. So here, say my fulfillment is first I need a manager approval. So I'd go ahead and add manager approval. So I can give a condition for this. I don't need to add a condition. I want manager condition regardless of who's requesting it or when it is requested. Then next I would need a BU head approval if it is a 27-inch monitor. So I'll go ahead and BU head approval. But before I add it, if you have seen service fulfillment steps, you might have realized that BU head approval was not part of the out-of-the-box setup. Out of the box, we have 3 step types: task, custom approval, manager approval. BU head was something that I have added in this instance, and you can do that too. So you can add new step types if you want. BU head approval is one example. Notification is another example. There are various examples where you can add your own step types. To do that, you need 3 things. One is a record producer to take the questions, a table to hold the data, and third is a subflow, flow designer subflow, which will actually do the work for you. So in this case, I've added a BU head approval, and I want this to be this approval to be sent only when the monitor type is 27 inches. So I can add that condition and click add. And that would add the approval. Then I need 2 tasks to dispatch monitor and the Aprils. All right. So let's assign it to, let's say, Adela, and you can give it a priority. And I want this to run always, so I'll add that. And the other one is to dispatch the accessories also. And this should run in parallel with the previous one. We'll see how we can do that. So let's assign this as well to Adela and add it. If you want these two to run in parallel, you just drag and drop on over each other. So these 2 tasks will now be run in parallel. This is how you define your fulfillment. You can give estimated time to deliver, let's say 5 days for this, and then you continue to review and submit. Here you can review the item, and once you do that, let's go ahead and submit. Now, when you have democratization plans and you open it up for service owners to start building, there are a lot of people then they start building, and you might want to have some form of check. You might want to review the items that get created or any edits on existing items. So you can use a pre-published flow feature where you can actually create a task, or you can generate an RITM, and which you can then preview, and you can review the item and then go ahead and complete that task. So only once you approve it will the item get published. So right now you see that the item is in interview state. So if you go here and let me impersonate Beth, who is the catalog admin, who would have got the catalog task generated on her name. This got generated. Yep. Task for reviewing the catalog items and monitor for remote employees. I would go ahead and close complete. So I would I can actually put the preview URL in this task. Using that, I could go and see what changes have been made. And once I review it, I can go ahead and set the state to close complete. And once this is done, what the flow will do is send a success output. And once the Catalog Builder receives success from the pre-published flow, it would start and go ahead and publishes the item. So the item is getting published. I refresh that again. The item is now published. So now this item is published. So what happens now? Let's say I have the item published, and because it's a remote setup, I have employees from different countries, who speak different languages. I would like to add translations to this particular catalog item in different languages. Let's say French or Spanish or any language. How can I do that? You can actually leverage the localization framework product of ServiceNow. If you have localization framework and dynamic translation, you can enable that plugin. And once you enable that, if you go to Catalog Items tab and select the catalog item, on the right pane, you see a translation status tab. The translation status tab would actually give you the show a list of languages that are configured in this instance. So in this case, all these bunch of languages are configured. So let's say I want to do translation for German. So I can edit this translation. This will open a comparison UI. I can then use I can give the German translation, or you can change the language if you want to, and give the translation for that particular language, and then publish translation. If you have dynamic translation installed, you can also use the machine translation to translate the catalog items. And once you publish the translations go and sit in the translated tables of catalog items, and the item is translated. There are two modes of translation. One is a self-translation mode, which I have shown. The other mode, which you can switch using a property, is a request translation mode, where you can request for translations. If you're in your organization, the method of translation is such that somebody else does translation. Maybe there's a dedicated team who does a translation, or maybe you get a third party to do the translation for you. In that case, you might want the creator of the item to request for translations. So, so when you have the request translation mode on, instead of edit translation, you would have something called request translation. And once somebody clicks on that, a localization LRATM gets created in the system. How you use the translation. Okay, that brings me to the end of the demo. Let's go back to the deck. All right, there are some questions that I get asked frequently. I would like to answer them here. First is, should the creation and update of catalog items happen in developer instance, or should it happen in production instance? And well, as is the case with a lot of questions, the answer depends, right? So our endeavor with Catalog Builder is that our customers get confident enough to start creating catalog items in production directly. But we do realize that some of our customers are not happy, or they don't want to do that. They still want to do it in developer instance, test it in the test instance, and then push it to production. Yeah, fine, which is perfectly fine. There are three ways of doing that. One is to create everything in developer instance, test it, and then push it to production. The other is to do everything in production instance, which is okay as long as you are making changes to the catalog item form, and in your fulfillment if you're using service fulfillment steps. So if you're using service fulfillment steps, then the outcome is predictable. For example, if you want to add, let's say after the item is created, you want to add another approval in the fulfillment process, then you can, if you are using service fulfillment steps, you can add that additional approval step, and that approval step itself is already tested. So there is very minimal chance that something would go wrong. If you know what you're doing, if you know the sequence of steps that you want to put, then there is minimal chance of something going wrong. So the outcome of service fulfillment steps is predictable, and it becomes a good candidate to be directly used in production or directly edited in production. The third form of doing it is making changes to the catalog item form in the production instance directly, because you can actually preview how the item looks. For example, if you notice a typo error in the description, you want to change it, or you might want to change the description, or you might want to change the image, then you can do that in the production directly, because you can actually preview the item as you're building. And if you want to make changes to the fulfillment side, because it cannot be tested in the production instance directly in a foolproof way, you can do those changes in developer instance and then push it to production. So you can choose any of these ways to push updates from developer to production instance to use Catalog Builder. There's no right answer to it. The other question I often get asked is how do we transport the data from one instance to other? So let's say dev to prod. So in the Tokyo release, we released a feature where any item that gets created or edited in Catalog Builder on an update set automatically gets created in the backend. The person who's creating does not need to do anything, so they don't even need to know how something, what is update set, how to set it, how to complete it, nothing at all. They just have to go ahead and use Catalog Builder to create the item. The update set automatically gets created and it gets completed. So while we are at it, let's see if the update set was created for the, okay, I have to switch back to the admin persona to see the update sets. I'll go to local update set. And this is the update set that got generated. So you see the CB stands for Catalog Builder, underscore the template name, underscore the name of the item, underscore the timestamp. This is how the update set gets generated. So this is automatically set to complete. So you can take this update set and merge it with other update set if you need, and you can transport it from the dev instance to production instance. The next question I get asked is how many templates should we create? Well, again, this also depends. There is no right or wrong answer. You can create as many as you want, but ensure that it is manageable and you only create if it is required. We have customers who have created only tens of catalog templates, and they've been running their catalog maintenance successfully. And we have customers who created hundreds of it because they have thousands of catalog items. So there is no right answer. The general guidance from our side is, if you have a bunch of catalog items which share certain properties, for example, let's say IT hardware assets like your mouse, your monitor, your laptops, all these, they could share certain properties, like they would be in the same catalog, they would have they would be in similar categories, they would have some basic questions which would go in all of these. The user criteria available and not available for would be similar. So if you have a bunch of catalog items which have common properties, then it makes sense to add a template for that and give all these properties within that. And in addition to that, you can set guardrails and also make something mandatory if you want to. Right. And the other question is, how do you define and manage group ownership of catalog items? It's not as straightforward as giving a group as the owner of a catalog item, but you can use the template to do that. There's a property called template access, which by default is false. If you set that to true, then all the Catalog Builder editors who have access to that template, and the template which is used to create the catalog item, they would get the rights to edit the catalog item. So, for example, Eileen had created the monitor catalog item. Now, let's say there's another Catalog Builder editor, Jack, who also have access to the template to create another catalog item. But because Jack has access to the same template, Jack would automatically get the right to edit the monitor catalog item. And similarly, Eileen will also get access to whatever catalog items that Jack creates using that particular template. So you can use templates to take care of group ownership. All right. So that actually brings to the end of my demo and questions. So I would like to ask one final poll question before we can go to Q&A. What are the features that you would like to see in Catalog Builder in future? You can please use the chat box to give your responses. We would definitely will try and work on it, and if possible, and if required, we will reach out to you for validation and research purposes. Right, let me see if there are any questions that we answers. Or is it time with the new application engine center? It will be cool if this could leverage application management center application to prod. Yeah, so Catalog Builder is integrated with application AES. And where where it does not use the update set way that I showed now, it uses the AES way to push data from one instance to another. So in AES, if you want to create a record producer or catalog item, when you're trying to create an application, when you click that particular service, then the catalog builder gets launched within AES, where you can actually create your catalog item or record producer, and that then sits in the scope of that application. And once done, you can use the AES way of progressing the item from one instance to another. The update set under ITSM workspace, if you will use the script include version do we need to create a new update set? So the updates get generated for each scope. If one entity is in scope A and another entity, let's say a variable set is in scope B, then two updates gets generated, one for scope N and one for scope B. So you can then take all of them together and then push it from one instance to another. The other question is about taxonomy, employee-centered taxonomy. Great question there. So we are working on it. So soon, right? It's not there till Utah release, but hopefully in Vancouver, again, safe harbor applied. You would see in a future release, you would see a way to associate taxonomy and topics in Catalog Builder itself. Right, some suggestions coming for what we want to see. Avoid double symmetry. Okay. Can we maintain HR catalog items? Unfortunately, not today. So any items which are not part of SACAT item table cannot be edited in catalog item. We are trying to address that. We have that in our radar. Any HR items, catalog items, or ITAM, asset management catalog items. So these we are trying to see if we can leverage Catalog Builder to edit or maintain the catalog items. Okay. All right. These are some of the slides. We have the documentation which covers the catalog builder. We also have a now learning course which actually takes you through the catalog builder fundamentals. It has two modules. One is for the service owner and the other is for admins. For admins, it is basically about how to create templates. What are the different guardrails or the things that you can do using a template. And for the service owner, it is about how you can use Catalog Builder, how you can use a template to create a catalog item or a record producer. So we will give you the links for this, where you can leverage that now learning course. It's a self-paced course. You can take that, and we also have a YouTube Catalog Builder playlist, which has about 5 or 6 bite-sized videos about different aspects of Catalog Builder, about how you can create a catalog item, how you can create a new step type, how you can create the pre-published flow, the review flow that I had showed. So all these things, there are 5 or 6 items, 5 or 6 videos, which you can see to increase your Catalog Builder knowledge. Finally, I know that we've been asking questions. If you have further questions, please do post in the chat box or in the Q&A. We will try and answer as many as we can. And if you are unable to answer, we'll definitely get back to you even after the session is over. Let me show you workflow flow which you use for this demo. I had used the, if you're talking about the SFS does not have, I mean, you don't have to write a flow for it. You can directly use the service fulfillment steps. So service fulfillment steps has a flow associated with it, but that flow is something called a service fulfillment flow. So you can think of it like a skeleton of a flow, which will loop through all the steps that are defined in service fulfillment steps. Right. So you can do a post processing or pre processing, before or after the steps that are defined as part of service fulfillment steps. If you want to do that, you can edit the existing one, or you can clone it and create your own flow, where you if you have a requirement where you want to do certain things before the actual steps of fulfillment start, you can create your own flow, flow designer flow, and mark it as a flow, service fulfillment flow. And once you do that, whenever somebody selects that particular flow, they would see the component to define the steps. So you would see the similar component that I showed in the demo. You can add various steps to it, like tasks, customer approvals, and manager approvals, or you can also define your own step types as I had stated. My company, a third-party company we work with to provide manual translation, but if version does not meet copy quality, which we need to translate that item, we need to export all the text and translate it. Okay, so this looks like a problem that location team can solve or needs to solve, but you can use the localization framework. If you're already using localization framework, you can leverage that. I will pass on this to the localization team and localization PM. If I have a broad template used across many groups, everyone who has access to that template could edit and alter catalog items created and used by the other group. Yes, if you set that property to true, then anybody who has access to that, this is a response to James' question. So if the property is set to true, then anybody who has access to the template will get the rights to create to edit any catalog item that gets created by using that template. So yeah, so if you make that property true, be sure that you're aware of what might happen in such scenarios. So everybody gets the rights to edit the catalog items they might not have created, but they got the rights because they have the access to the template. Okay.
There is one answer in the chat, Karthik. How to call one workflow to another workflow.
Yeah, you want to take that?
I'm not exactly sure. I'll ask to elaborate more on it.
Right, like we can take that offline. We'll reach out to the person who posted that question and see how we do that. Generally, we would need some more additional information about that particular question.
There was one question in the chat from Durga that what role should business owner have to create catalogs using the template? I am assuming catalogs meant he meant catalog items.
Right.
So business owner, so catalog template has a user criteria. If that user criteria matches the user will be able to create items using that template. Maybe it's better if we show how a item template is created. Probably, Karthik. I see most questions around it.
So template creation. To restrict someone from accessing the template?
Yeah.
Okay, let's say test template. Here you have something called template available for. You can use this user criteria to restrict it to someone. So if you say any user, then it would be available for that. But if you have a user criteria defined, let's say you want to restrict it for people of one particular location, then you can create a user criteria for that, and that will be listed here, and you can do that. For example, you only want the HRSP employees to have access to this catalog item template. You can add this user criteria here and save selections. So any user who is only part of the HRSP employees user criteria would have the access to this template. And there's one thing that I had missed during the demo. This checkbox that you see here, use template scope for creating records. So what this does is, let's say you have a use case of creating catalog items in a particular scope or a particular application, but the service owner does not have this scope selector because they don't have enough rights, and you don't want to give the developer rights to that particular table. So, but you still want them to create catalog items and record producers in that particular table. So what you can do is you can check this checkbox in the template, and you can create the template in a particular scope. Let's say right now the scope is ITSM workshop. So what happens now is whenever I create a catalog item using this particular template, even though I'm in the global scope, the item will be created in the scope that template is in this case ITSM workspace. So you don't need to give any additional rights to the service owner. They can be in global scope and create items in a different scope using this checkbox. Right. I think we are at the top of the hour. Thanks, you folks. If we missed answering some questions, we'll definitely get back to you. And after this, you'll have a survey question for feedback. Please do give feedback for the session. What you think of it, and if you want something, if you want to know something more about Catalog Builder and Service Catalog, please feel free to reach out. We are all ears. We would love to hear your feedback. And thank you so much for joining. This is me, Karthik, and Anurag signing off. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Excellent.